Do you think communication is the most important aspect of interpersonal relationships, and if so, why?
Absolutely. Without face-to-face open communication, it's impossible for any two people to understand, learn about each other, learn about themselves together, and learn where they can go productively in the future.
How do you think nonverbals affect message interpretation?
Nonverbal is the first communication aspect that actually ever happens before I talk to you or talk to anybody or anyone talks to anyone. If it's going to be a face-to-face situation, the first thing we see is a person's body. So we can tell almost instantly by looking at that person's face or body how that initial communication interaction is going to happen. Do they look happy? Will this be a joyous occasion, or do they look disturbed? Are they upset? You kind of get an idea by looking at that person's nonverbals as to the way to approach what you think is the way to approach them and how you think they might approach you.
How do you think gender affects communication between two people?
Gender has a huge effect on communication between people. I can only speak from the male side of it, but if you think about the way you were growing up and the things that the environment that you grew up in as a young male or young woman, and the things you were exposed to, and then where we are today, those had an effect on us all through our life. When I was growing up, it was all about playing with army men and shooting guns and so on and so forth, whereas my sister, it was all about playing with dolls, fake, pretend tease with her girlfriend and in a dollhouse and stuff like that. I'm just speaking in generalities here, but I do believe that women and men are raised differently from youth, and as they get older, that becomes a significant part of their communication still between each other.
What do you think is the best way to handle conflict?
Be as open as you can about it. Try to keep, if you ever get a chance to learn this, try to keep in mind that separate the person from the problem. If you can, stop pointing your fingers at each other and stand beside each other and say, what is the issue here that we're dealing with? If you're able to do that, then it's you and me versus the problem instead of me versus you. Very rarely is the person the actual problem. In almost all cases, it's an issue that has come into their lives, and for one reason or another, the quickest and easiest thing to do is to blame somebody for it. Separate the people from the problem, come together, let it be you guys versus the problem, and then work it out.
What kind of advice can you give on becoming a better listener?
Stop your own mind from rolling and open yourself up to what they're saying. As you know, when you're talking to somebody, somebody's talking to you, you're always thinking about what am I going to say next. You're analyzing what they're saying. Most people don't ever stop and really listen to what the other person's saying. Step into their shoes for a second while they're talking and try to get the perspective from their side. If you let yourself do that a few times, you're probably going to be a more open listener, and people know if you're listening to them versus sitting there and going,
And that is actually it. So thank you so